my aching head. We're a party, yeah, we're gonna rock it all night. Twitching like thunder, cause the vibe is so right. Movies at the hell, leading the way. Well, I'm sitting here waiting for the lights to turn bright. Got my controller ready, but the stream's taking all night. You be chatting away, but I'm dying to play. Give me that action, can't wait another day. Checking the clock, taking slow like a metronome. Impatiently waiting for you to come on. I'm itching for that game, ready to dominate. These delays got me starting to hate. Oh, you man, won't you hurry up and start the show? Got my fingers twitching and my enthusiasm's flowing. This waiting ain't right, can't take it no more. I need those games, you ain't open up the door. In the land of Twitch, where the rockers roam, we're the rebels of the Cyberdome. With keyboards clacking and emotes flying high, we're the kings and queens of the digital sky. From the chat room chaos, we arise. With memes as weapons, we'll take the prize. Rockers rise up and let's cause a scene. In this chat room we reign supreme. With laughter and chaos we'll light the nights. You'll be streaming, we riot tonight. Hell yeah, we riot tonight. Hell yeah, we riot tonight. Hell yeah, we riot tonight. Space engineers to Minecraft's domain. We'll rock the servers, leave on walking rain. With PUBG battles and epic fails, we'll conquer the game, leave behind our trails. With emotes ablaze and memes in hand, we'll paint the chat with our wild brand. Rockers rise up and let's cause a scene. In this chat room we reign supreme. With laughter and chaos we'll light the nights. You'll be streaming, we riot tonight. Hell yeah, 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 we riot tonight. Let the rock and roll fill rage. Evil 10 bits flying, time to engage. We're a squad of misfits, united in front. In the land of Twitch, our victory's won. Rockers rise up and let's cause a scene. In this chat room we reign supreme. With laughter and chaos we'll light the nights. You'll be streaming, we riot tonight. Hell yeah, we riot tonight. So let's raise our emotes and toast to the night. With you being the rockers, we'll take flight. In this digital realm, we'll forever roll. As the mayhem makers of the Cyberdome.
The following film is presented in its complete theatrical version. It was rated R by the MPAA and may not be appropriate for children under 17. It is rated TV MA-LSV and contains strong language, sexual situations, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Now, check it out! Vanilla Thunder in the house! Dusted, ready for bed, button full of bars flowing from its head. Got hair flowing and long. He's dropping jokes and songs of bomb. Oh, tired, kinda like milk that's expired. Vanilla Thunder from the plains of Texas. Vanilla Thunder is coming Rexus. Vanilla Thunder, big catastrophe. That's just who he is. Our boy Ubi.
Guilty as charged. I am your boy Ubi. It is Tuesday night. It's time for the Tech Talk Tuesday. I am very washed out. Here I am supposedly talking to you about technical things, and I can't get my camera to show properly. Step that back a little bit. No, that's too much. There we go. Somewhere around there. Yes, we are working on the layout and the production elements. So let's go and bring that down off there. How you doing, everyone? It is Tuesday night. As I said, I am Ubi. This is your Tech Talk Tuesday. And tonight, we will be talking about wet, dry. And we're not talking necessarily about, things like the weather or your laundry. Let's get some shout-outs, though. Jay Guitar Shanty, how you doing? Chris, C.D. Nelson, good to see you. Johnny 3-Bar. Who else we got around here? Brant, Brandy, both of y'all in here. Good to see both of y'all. Keith popping in. Brian from Searching for Tone, good to see you. Trey Shreddings, how you doing, man? Will, good to see you as well. And did I miss anybody else in there? I don't think I missed anybody. Oh, GMG also popped in there. Good to see you. All right, and Steve Gunner. There's Steve. Good deal. All right, so wet, dry. So let's look at my actual chain. And, hey, Ted, how you doing? So I use wet dry in my chain because I take the extra effects I put on mine and run them as a parallel chain. So it's kind of hard to tell what we've got going here, especially if you're on a small screen. There's not an easy way for me to zoom in because there's not really a good zoom on this particular program. This is as big as it gets. But this orange one, right, that's why I made them colored to make them a little easier. The orange one here is my amp modeler, and then below it, the yellow one is just an additional EQ. So going into it, I've got some EQ, some compressor, my pitch shifter, and my wah pedal because I want my wah before the amp. So this is my dry amp, everything up until this yellow point here. So previously, the pink ones, which are my delay, chorus, reverb, and phaser, were all straight in line. And one of the biggest things about that is that, they were, especially when all four of them were being used at the same time, were absolutely saturating the tone. to the point where I was kind of losing the way the way the raw sound of the guitar is. So what I did was I took those 4 and pulled them off onto their own chain. So the output from that's coming from my amp is going over here onto a chain, and then also it's going straight through down into this box here labeled wet dry. So what this allows me to do is I can take the 2 on the left here are the dry sound, the 2 on the right here of these green little dots, that's the ports. So the wet is on the right, dry is on the left. And so what I do is I've got the wet dry level set so that I'm only putting about 30% of what's coming through my parallel chain, and I'm mixing about 70%, a little bit more than that, of the dry sound. So it gives it a slight boost because of the way it's mixed, but it also means that the effects are much less than the dry that comes in for it. And that's actually where and how you would use a wet dry. Now, some effects themselves have a wet dry in them. Like, for example, here in M delay, it's got a dry setting right here. So right now it's set for basically letting the entire wet of this particular one, because I'm controlling it with a totally different wet dry. But you can get the same effect from individual effects if they have their own wet dry mix. I believe the kilohertz does too. Yeah, they've got down here is mix, which is wet dry. This one actually should theoretically be full, but the chorus here takes a lot out. It's a lot softer, so I have a little more of the dry from that coming in as well. So, but that's kind of how wet dry works. Now, this wet dry plugin here is part of Element. It's a plugin that comes with Element. There are some really good free wet dry mixers out there. The Melda plugins has a great one. I think Kilohertz actually has one as well. And if not, it's one of those plugins that's all over the place. And basically all it is just, it's the same type of a mix as your mixing board down in here. It's just in an individual pedal form. So I'm mixing, basically it's just a mini mixer between what's coming out of my amp straight in and what I've got here on this outside chain. Now, you don't have to necessarily set your chains up that way, but if you do have a situation where you are running a digital chain where things are maybe you are splitting stuff off, maybe you're running 2 amps because you're wanting to get a kind of an out of phase sound, or a different mix on that one, you would use the same type of mix. Usually it would be a wet dry mix. One of the 2 amps you would consider your dry, one of them you would consider your wet. Basically, it's just kind of think of it as just kind of a small inline mixing board. So that's what it is. That's when you would use it and how to find it, like I said. So yeah, so that's basically wet dry in a nutshell. So with that said, we'll open it up for questions about wet dry, about anything else digital, and any other questions. We'll open the floor up to the good people in chat. That's actually the wrong thing there. That should be, it's display capture. Editing it on the fly. That's what it's supposed to be. Cool. No worries, Vinny. Again, people will meet and make it to streams when they make it to the streams. I struggle with true bypass. I don't think it really gives a true signal. So the bypass is going to really depend on the plugin itself. Some of them do an actual honest to goodness bypass, where it literally just takes the signal and moves it over. And some of them don't actually do a real bypass. They just remove other things. It lessens what is in there. It's really going to depend on the plugin itself. Can you give us a sound sample of difference between wet versus dry? I can. Give me just a moment, and we will do that. I do not have a guitar plugged in, but we can fix that. Oh, actually, let me take that back. I do have a guitar plugged in. I didn't unplug the guitar when I was done playing it. That's just a completely dry tone. None of the four are on at the moment. So you're literally getting just a pure dry tone. But if I turn them all on, so the delay, chorus, reverb, phaser, they're all on. So that's with my current wet-dry mix, where I've got only some of it up there. So if I take the dry level out completely and go 100% wet, all right, so I've actually got them backwards, just to let you know. I've got the dry amp is in the wet slot, and the effects are in the dry slot. So I'll need to swap that at some point. But the point still exists. So if I didn't have a wet dry, it would sound exactly like this. So the way it would work is that it would come from the amp up here, go straight into these, and then this wouldn't even be here. It would just go straight into my final compressor and my gain. So this is what it sounds like with all of them on. This is what it sounds like if none of it's on. But you can hear those effects even though they're on. That whole side is gone. So if I put them in the middle, if I go 50-50, somewhere about like that. So I'll play it, and then I will adjust the slider on the wet side. You hear that's backing it out where you can't hear it. If I take out completely the amp itself, so you see how quiet that got there? Because when I have some of those on, that's turning them all off. That's turning them all back on. You hear I kind of pulled down a little bit there? To give it a more consistent tone, what I do is instead I work it with a bit more of the dry sound. So that's all of them on. None of them on. You hear how the levels are closer for that? That's the main reason why I use the wet-dry mix on that. Does that give you a good idea of exactly how it's done and what it does? Does that give you kind of an idea of what wet and dry do? Like I said, it's basically, if you want to think of it the easiest way, is it's just a little two-lane mixer is all it really is. All right, what did I miss? Did I miss anything important back there? Any other questions I missed in there? BBM joining us. How you doing? Yeah. Not seeing any. Okay, cool. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions while I was giving the demo on that. Any other questions or comments or thoughts? Man, I hope that gets fixed up for you, Brian. I really do. So you're talking about you're noticing a big difference of um, putting the compressor before as opposed to after your effects. It's going to be a massive difference between those two. Because if you put it in front, well, the point is of what a compressor does. The compressor takes your the highest peak that you're using and uses that as a guide to squish all of your sound. So it basically turns your volume down, the entire volume down, based off of your loudest sound, your loudest peak in your waveform. So it compresses everything down, which also means that the things that are quieter, they compress down as well. Not as much because the compression is based off of how big the waveform is. So they get a little bit quieter. Things that are middle, they get a little more quieter. Things that are hot, they get a lot quieter. And then after that, you have your makeup gain, which makes up for that fact. And so what that does is it takes everybody and adds a certain amount of gain to them, an even amount of gain. So because of that, the lows that only got compressed just a little bit, they get let's say like your lowest thing got compressed maybe half a dB. Well, you're adding 3 dB to it, like if you're using a 3 dB makeup gain. So you've taken all of your lows and you've increased them by 2.5 dB. Your mids may have only got crushed down to say 1.5 dB. So if you added 3 dB, your 3 dB makeup gain to them, pushes them up only 1.5, but they still get pushed up 1.5. And your highs, if they got crunched down, say like 6, then your makeup gain of 3 pushes them up, so they're at a -3. So because of that, because of the way a compressor works, you're changing which tones are going to come out more in your sound. And so if you do that going into your effects, that means your effects already get that pre-crunched sound. So your effects are not going to affect your highs, your peaks as much because they've been squished down, but they're going to affect your lows more because they've been brought up because of the makeup gain. So so if you compress it before going into your effects will affect that compressed waveform. Whereas if you do it after your effects, you're getting your raw signal in there. So those high peaks are there, those lows are lower than they were before. So your effects affect all those at those levels. So if you're using like envelopes or anything that affects things based off of the dynamics or the attacks on it, it's going to affect it differently. And also like things like your reverbs and your delays, they're going to give that echoey sound to the bigger pieces. So then once it gets compressed, you're then compressing that echo in there as well, so your echo, from your reverb or your delay and those sort of things also ends up being compressed. So that's going to do the same thing to it. The highs, it's going to get squished. The lows are going to be brought up a little bit. So that's why you're going to get a different sound when you're compressing behind, in front of or behind your anything, whether it's your effects or your amp or anything along those lines. Does that make sense the way I've explained that? Is there another question back there while I'm doing that? I think somebody had asked, TR had asked, does it cost a lot of money to play through my computer? That answer is no. If you have a good enough computer to run the stuff that I'm running here, every single thing that I use is free. So my entire chain, the program element that I run everything inside of, 100% free. Lock On, it's a tuner, 100% free. Soften, this one is technically free, but it's free for owners of the Focusrite. So I own a Focusrite, so I'm able to use Soften. You can get away without using that particular plugin, though. All that does is it tames some of the harsh shrill, especially out of the really hot pickups that I sometimes use. TDR Nova, which is a dynamic EQ, 100% free. M Compressor is part of the Melda suite of plugins. It's from their free bundle. Noise Suppression 64, totally free. Pitchproof, free. Flying Ottawa, free. Neural Amp Modeler, free. TDR Nova again. M Delay is from Melda, also free. Chorus, Charm Verb, and Phaser, all from Kilohertz. Those are all free. Wet Dry came with Element, also free. Kotlinkov, I think I pronounced that correctly. This one here, which is a compressor, again, totally free. Blue Cat Gain 3, again, all of these are totally free. Can you use a laptop? It depends on the laptop. The answer is probably. It's really going to depend on the processor. If your processor is good enough, then you can run everything I have in here. But everything that I run in here uses processor power, and the more processor power it uses, obviously your system can only have so much of a processor, so much processing power that it can use at once. So if you get to the point where you have too many things going at once in your processor, it bottlenecks your processor, processing slows down, and you'll start to hear latency when that happens. So you absolutely can run some plugins on a laptop, and it's going to depend on what processor you're using as to how many of those and how many of the heavier plugins you can run. So like I said, the answer, yes, you absolutely can. If I had to pare this down to only the ones that I need, I would use Neural Amp Modeler, I'd use the noise suppressor, and maybe the delay and reverb. And so I could get away with just those. So how do you set input gain to ensure that no additional gain is being introduced to the pickup signal before the first plug-in? Great question. That's called gain staging, Vinny, and it's a scientific art. So what the best way to deal with that is it starts with your interface. So most interfaces have the ability to see your gain level on the interface, usually with a green, yellow, and red light. What you want to do is interfaces themselves have a noise suppression circuit inside of it. So you want to push your interface's gain as high as it will go before it starts clipping. So you plug your guitar in, you play your guitar as hard as you're going to play, and you watch your interface. If you're pushing up way into the red, you back your interface down. If you're still in the green, not in the yellows, you bring it up. You keep doing that process until you've got your interface gain set at when you're playing at as energetic and as hard as you can, and you're just under clipping. That means you're going to have the best noise floor that you can possibly get out of your interface. From there, that's where when you go into your plugins and those sort of things, each plugin is going to have its own gain staging and gain level. For example, on Soften, when I'm playing, switch it so where you can see it on review. You see over here on the side, there's a meter, a voice meter, or a meter on the side. So that tells me how hard the gain is going to be coming out of this one. So if that one's too low, or if it's peaking up on the high there, I would take my the gain level over here and adjust that so that it stays right up pretty much, so that every level is going to be pretty much the same as you work through it. And each one of these usually has their own internal. TDR Nova doesn't, but when you're playing, you can see it down here in the volume meter down here as well. So basically, it's each stage. You want to make sure your gain on the way out is going to be pretty much the same. That's why we call it gain staging. But hopefully that makes sense. Interface question may be specific to the Euphoria. I've heard mixed signals about leaving it connected, powered on. Some reviews say the Euphoria croaked after being left connected. Chris, it's probably going to be, for that one, it's more about how clean your power is to it. Most likely ones that have croaked probably had power spikes and probably got some damage to the equipment on it, especially if I don't know enough about the Euphoria itself, but if it's powered by the USB 5-volt rail, that could be where that sort of thing may be happening from it. Follow up on that, say I set the input for single coils, but then switch to humbuckers and it clips. But if I back it off, is the amp plug-in seeing the weaker signal? Yes. So that's exactly one, Vinny, where if you have, especially like an HSS like I've got here on the T's, you'll want to use your highest output plug-in for setting that initial gain staging. The big deal about having that maximum gain on your DI is because of that noise circuit. So you'll want to make sure that your strongest signal is the one that's pushing right up on the limit. So when you do flip over to, say, a neck pickup that maybe is, or especially in a middle position, which is way less, you're going to be well under, so you're not clipping. Clipping is the worst thing because when you clip something, you lose sound you can never get back. Being too low, being too low is that the noise canceling circuit on your interface is not going to engage as much. So you may pick up a little bit more low-end RF on it. There's not really an easy way to deal with, especially when you have pickups that are significantly different from their outputs there. That's one of the reasons why I have a compressor early in my chain. Part of that is so that it will help me pull up my transients for my pinch harmonics better, but also so that it'll help even it out if my inputs aren't perfect, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers that question. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? Great, glad to help. Yeah, for sure. Clipping, if like I said, once you've clipped, you have lost audio you can never get back. So that's why that's your most important thing. It's to keep it under clipping. All right, folks, it is 7:26. If there are more questions, no problem. Email me, theubi@gmail.com. It's right there on your screen. I'll be happy to explain significantly more, anything that you want to learn or know about. But otherwise, let's hop over to Ted's Live, which you can see there. There is a link for it in the pinned comment. And once again, thanks every single one of you for joining me tonight. And we will catch you over at Ted's.